Hey guys, have you ever wondered why your leopard gecko is not eating? Well, in this video, I'm going to share my 5 tips that has allowed me to boost up their appetite while raising hundreds of leopard geckos past 4 years. Tip number 1, check the temperature and check your heating items. I remember when I had my first leopard geckos, I thought heat Leopard would be enough for leopard geckos. But it turns out leopard geckos prefers belly heat more than the overhead heating birds like. Therefore, you always want to give them a fair amount of belly heat from the ground so they can lean against the ground to digest. In wild nature, leopard geckos love hiding inside a dark shelter where they can lean against the warm ground and like to sleep and digest their food while they're sleeping in the shelter. So if you don't have a belly heat inside the enclosure, try installing a heat pad or heat tape underneath the tank today. The most important thing while you're doing this is the bedding has to be thin enough so that he can transfer through their belly. If you're looking for an aesthetic bedding that also does an excellent job, we made an odor-resistant reptile liner that will get rid of all of your hassle for keeping leopard geckos or bearded dragons or other desert reptiles. I added a link below, so feel free to check the link down below. Tip number 2, don't overfeed. I will always give them less than what they normally eat. However, this tip won't apply when you're breeding your geckos, so you always want to have enough for breeding season so they don't run out of good nutrition in their body to produce eggs. Now, if you're new and don't know what a perfect amount for your leopard geckos, I'll first start with the hand feeding process. To find out how much they normally eat, hatchlings should be fed every day, juvenile should be fed every other day, others will be fed 2 to 3 times a week. During their observation period while you're hand feeding, I will always look at their tails because that's where they store a good chunk of the nutrition. And if you're starting to see the tails get thinner, I would want to add 1 or 2 feeders extra than usual because thinner tails means they're running out of nutrition in their body. Once you figure out how much they eat, then that's when you would want to place a dish or bowl for training a bowl feeding. Just add the feeders inside the bowls, little less than what you normally hand feed, and from there, they will eat really well. Now, some people may disagree with this idea, but from my experience, my leopard gecko's appetite level has gone up way higher and they react to the food way faster because they are hungry when they're about to get the food. So this will give you a better interaction with your leopard geckos while feeding and prevent from obesity. Also, you won't be seeing mealworms turning into pupas. A lot of times when you feed a ton of mealworms or other insects, you end up seeing mealworms turning into pupas. So if you put less, your bowls will always be clean and they will come out to eat when you refill them. Tip number 3, check if your gecko is ovulating. Especially during the winter season, it's pretty much like a breeding season for leopard geckos. It varies depending where you live, but when the temperature gets colder, some males stop eating because they can get preoccupied with their reproductive instincts, and female geckos ovulate during these times, so if you're planning on breeding them, pairing could actually help bring back their appetite again. Since they will be using a lot of energy during these breeding seasons, they will start eating more than usual. Now, there are other reasons as well, but pairing has allowed us to bring back their appetite most of the time when we see our geckos not eating during the season. Tip number 4, look at their facets and see if they're having any digesting issues. Facets basically refers to their poop. Leopard geckos have a habit of leaking anything inside the tank, and sometimes that could lead to a bad digestive system. One of the common things that can be found from the online or from new parents is the fine sand substrate. There are a lot of sands that are available in the pet shop, and those are really not easy for them to digest for leopard geckos generally. And when they can't digest, this will over time compile in their stomach and it will lead to a impaction. So which means they won't be eating because they can't digest anything inside their body. Another thing we find is a bad feeders or contaminated tank. We recommend cleaning the tanks at least once a week because sometimes leopard geckos can accidentally poop on the walls, and this may be not good for leopard geckos if they have a habit of leaking anything inside the tank. I know this sounds stupid, but sometimes it really happens. For that reason, I would always recommend cleaning your tank as frequent as possible if you could. The easiest way to tell is by looking at their facets. I know this is not something we always want to look every day, looking at their poop to see if they're doing well, but in order to save our lovely geckos and see their conditions, we need to check them sometimes in case it gets worse. If you happen to see a solid facets, then it's most likely they have a really healthy digestive system, but if you happen to see any liquid facets or just white urinate facets, then you may want to see if they're leaking anything bad inside the tank. In this case, you want to clean more often so the bacteria doesn't spread out and they don't leak anything that is bad in the enclosure. Tip number 5, give numerous feeders. There are 3 most common feeders we feed to our leopard geckos: mealworms, dubias, and crickets. I know some states don't allow dubias and sometimes it could be very difficult to find in your local pet shops. Then at least switch mealworms to crickets maybe every 2 weeks or every month. Leopard gecko loves seeing their feeders move, and crickets and dubias seems to do those jobs pretty well. So if you change to dubias or cricket, you will see a big change how they will react to the food. If you want to try dubias and you can't find them in your local pet stores, we also have them available on our website, so check the link down below. So yeah, these are 5 things that I would recommend if you're going through these bad digesting issues for your leopard geckos. And if you follow these 5 steps, you will eventually see a big improvement from your leopard geckos. If you don't see a big improvement while following these steps, we do have a live messenger available on our website now. So if you need help or have questions, feel free to visit our website and reach out to us through there, and we're always there to answer your questions in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope these tips found to be valuable. And if you're watching this and if you're leopard gecko parents, what do you guys normally do when your gecko is not eating? Comment below. I would love to see what everyone else is doing to keep their geckos happy. But overall, that's it for today's video. God love. Peace out. Hey look, if you enjoyed that video, I went ahead and picked out another special video that I know you're gonna find it immensely valuable. You can find it right here. There, I know you're gonna love it, and I'll see you in the next one.